one wrong decision, and the ground would swallow them whole. A powerful man named Korah grew jealous of Moses' power, so he gathered people to challenge him and to challenge God himself. Millions stood watching beside the tabernacle, and then suddenly, the ground began to shake. Families screamed, the earth split apart, and fire fell from heaven itself. But to understand how it all started, we must go back to the beginning of Korah's story. Long ago, in the hot, sandy desert, a massive nation called the Israelites was traveling together. There were millions of them, men, women, and children, along with all their sheep, goats, and cows. They lived in a huge, sprawling camp made of thousands of tents. It was like a giant moving city built right on top of the dry, dusty earth. The sun was always beating down on them, and the wind blew hot sand into their faces. Life was difficult, but they were not alone. Right in the exact middle of this massive camp was one special, beautiful tent called the Tabernacle. This was the holy tent where the presence of God lived among his people. It was made of colorful cloth, thick animal skins, and shining gold. A tall pillar of cloud stood over it during the day, and a pillar of bright fire rested over it at night. Because this tent was so holy, only one specific group of people was allowed to touch it or take care of it. This group was the tribe of Levi. Inside this special tribe, there was a man named Korah. He belonged to a family group called the Kohathites. Whenever the big pillar of cloud moved, it was time for the whole camp to pack up and travel. Korah and his family had the most important job of all. They physically carried the holy furniture from inside God's tent. They did not use carts. They carried the heavy golden table, the shining lampstand, and the incredibly sacred wooden box called the Ark of the Covenant right on their own shoulders, using long wooden poles to support the weight as they walked through the hot, shifting sand. It was a hard job, but it was a great honor. Out of all the millions of people in the world, God trusted Korah's family to hold these holy things. But Korah was not happy. Every day the heavy lifting made his shoulders tired, and his heart started to fill up with dark, ugly jealousy. He began to look at his work not as a gift, but as a burden. Korah was the cousin of Moses and Aaron. Moses was the great leader who guided the whole nation. Aaron was the high priest. While Korah sweated in the hot sun, he watched his cousin Aaron wear beautiful, bright priestly clothes covered in shiny, colorful jewels that sparkled in the sunlight. Aaron had little golden bells on his coat that made a musical sound when he walked. He was the only man in the world allowed to walk behind the thick curtain into the most holy room inside the tent. Korah watched all of this and got very angry. He felt like he was being treated like a simple worker, even though he came from the same family. He wanted the shiny jewels and the power of the high priest. He started to whisper to his friends that Moses and Aaron were just greedy leaders who made up all these rules to keep themselves at the top. Korah knew he could not fight Moses alone. So one evening, he quietly walked through the dusty streets to the side of the camp where the tribe of Reuben lived. The tribe of Reuben had their own bitterness. A long time ago, their great-grandfather had been the oldest son, which meant their tribe was supposed to be the leaders. Because of bad things that happened in the past, they lost their chance. Many of the men there were angry, feeling they had been cheated out of their power. In this angry part of the camp, Korah found 3 men, Dathan, Abiram, and On. He sat down in their tents and told them that Moses was a bad leader, and that they deserved to be the bosses. Dathan and Abiram agreed immediately. They were the perfect partners for Korah's secret plan. Together, these men sneaked around the camp, knocking on tents and whispering in the shadows. They specifically looked for the rich, famous, and respected men. They complained and lied, making Moses and Aaron look like greedy bullies. Slowly, they convinced 250 very important leaders to join their secret rebellion. Korah had built a huge, angry mob, and he was finally ready to strike. When the day came, they marched right through the middle of the camp, stepping hard in the dirt, making a lot of noise. People came out of their tents to watch. A massive crowd followed them to where Moses and Aaron were standing. Korah stood up tall in front of everyone and pointed his finger at his cousins, using smooth, tricky words.
Moses and Aaron have taken too much power for themselves,
he said. He declared that every person in the camp was holy and that God was with all of them. He demanded to know why Moses and Aaron acted like they were so much better than everyone else. When Moses heard these proud, mean words, he was completely shocked. He did not yell back or call for guards. Instead, he felt so sad and so afraid of what God would do to these foolish men that he fell flat on his face right into the dirt. Moses lay there, praying silently. Then he slowly stood back up and looked right into Korah's eyes. Moses saw through the lies clearly. He knew Korah did not care about the regular people. He just wanted the shiny clothes and the power. Moses spoke clearly, so the whole crowd could hear, reminding Korah that God had already given him an honored and close role, but now he was trying to steal the priesthood too. He warned them that by starting this fight, they were not just arguing against human leaders. They were fighting directly against God. Moses told them that God would be the judge. Then Moses gave the group a dangerous test. He told all 250 men to come back the next morning with their metal fire pans, called censers, bowls used to burn sweet-smelling incense. Normally, only the true priests were allowed to do this. Moses said that whoever God chose would be confirmed as the true, holy man. That afternoon, Moses tried to fix things peacefully. He sent a message to the tents of Dathan and Abiram, asking them to come and talk, but they refused to come out. They sent back a nasty, insulting message, calling Moses a bad and selfish boss. They even called Egypt, the place where they had been whipped as slaves and forced to build bricks in the scorching sun, a wonderful land of milk and honey. They blamed Moses for dragging them into the desert to die, and declared they would never listen to him again. Moses was deeply hurt and very angry. He prayed and asked God not to accept any offering from these lying men. He reminded God that he had never wronged them, never taken anything from them, and had always tried to lead them honestly. The next morning, the sun rose over the huge desert camp. The air was already hot. Everyone was awake and watching. Korah stood proudly at the front of the tabernacle courtyard. Behind him stood his 250 leaders, each holding a glowing censer. Thick white smoke drifted up from the sweet incense into the morning air. They were all pretending to be priests, standing there as if they had every right to be there. Millions of Israelites stood around watching with wide, nervous eyes. Suddenly, a bright, blinding light flashed over the tabernacle. It was the glory of God, and it was so incredibly bright that people had to cover their eyes. God spoke directly to Moses and Aaron like thunder, telling them to step away from the crowd. God said he was going to completely destroy everyone in the camp because they had listened to Korah's lies. But Moses and Aaron did not run to save themselves. They threw themselves flat on the ground and cried out to God, begging him to please not punish the millions of innocent people just because one man had decided to be proud and start a fight. They were true leaders who cared about the lives of their people, even those who were being foolish. God listened. He decided to spare the crowd, but was not going to let the rebel leaders escape. He told Moses to get up and warn the people to move far away from the tents of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Moses quickly marched into the middle of the camp. The wise older men followed closely behind him. Moses raised his hands and shouted a loud warning, "Get away from the tents of these wicked men as fast as possible, and do not touch a single thing that belongs to them." The people were terrified and cleared a huge, wide circle of empty dirt around the rebels' tents. Dathan and Abiram came outside. They still did not look scared. They stood arrogantly right at the doorways of their tents, their wives and children beside them, staring at Moses as if they were completely safe. The whole camp went dead silent. Moses stood at the edge of the empty circle and spoke in a loud, echoing voice. As it is written in Numbers 16:30, Moses told the people this was how they would know who was truly in charge. If these men died a normal, peaceful death like everyone else, then God had not sent him. But if the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up alive with everything they owned, then everyone would know these men had completely disrespected God. The very second Moses finished speaking, a terrible rumbling came from deep underground. The dirt right beneath the tents of Dathan and Abiram began to shake wildly. Then, with a loud, deafening crack, the solid ground split wide open. A huge, dark, bottomless hole appeared right under their feet. They did not have time to run. Dathan and Abiram, along with their households and all their families, screamed in terror as the ground vanished beneath them, and they fell straight down into the dark abyss. Then, as fast as it had opened, the earth slammed violently shut. The ground became completely solid again. The tents were gone. The people were gone. There was nothing left. The people standing on the edges heard the awful screams. When the ground slammed shut, the crowd panicked, screaming and crying, convinced the earth was going to swallow them next. They turned and ran as fast as they could, fleeing from the terrifying spot. At the same moment, back at the tabernacle, the 250 men were still holding their censers. A roaring fire shot straight out from the presence of God, flashing across the courtyard like lightning. It hit the 250 men instantly. In 1 second, they were gone. The only things left were their 250 metal fire pans clattering onto the hard dirt, still smoking. A grim reminder of their failed ambition. This was also where Korah himself met his end, consumed along with those who had followed him into open rebellion against God. The massive rebellion was completely over. God had shown everyone in the desert that Moses was his chosen leader, and Aaron was his chosen priest. It was a terrifying day that no one would ever forget. But even in the middle of all this destruction, one small, quiet detail survived. When Korah had chosen to fight against Moses, he had tried to pull his whole family into the mess. But his sons had watched everything unfold. They knew their father was wrong. As the Bible tells us in Numbers 26:11, the sons of Korah did not die. When their father stood proudly in his rebellion.
Hey guys, hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe and comment which country you guys come from. It'll truly help us. If you like this video, then I'm sure you'll love this video also. Till the next video, see you later.